Welcome to Barley and Me. This is episode 81. I'm here today in Rancho Cordova at Burning Barrel Brewing. I'm your host, Ben Rice. With me today, head brewer Jason Williams.
Hi.
And also Duncan Alexander, one of the owners.
Hey.
And Jack Alexander.
Hello.
And you guys are actually on a previous episode of Barley and Me that I failed to research and find the number on. Apologies. I meant to, then I just realized now I never did that. But we did that when you guys were just breaking ground on this place. There was nothing in here. I think we had, one fermenter in?
No, we had to walk around
Yeah.
blocks of cement because we just finished the floor demos in January, and we had to jump over like 3 foot by 3 foot footings to get to the table. It was the only place that didn't have a rubble on it, so that was the last time.
Yeah, and now you guys have been open for about a month.
Yep, about a month and a week.
So I think the important question everybody's been waiting for me to ask, how's business here at Burning Barrel?
Booming.
It's better than we expected. Yeah, it's great. Pretty much every day of the week with the occasional odd day here and there. More business than I'm used to seeing on a weekday basis, basically. So it's been quite surprising and quite rewarding to see the turnout of enthusiasts.
Yeah, it seems like there was room for one more, which is great. And everyone wonders if you're getting to some sort of tipping point in NorCal. But so far, it looks like the new guys are opening and being supported well. Yeah,
it's nuts. I don't really go out drinking anymore too much because it's bad for me. But every time I go out somewhere, you have a beer on tap and people are raving about it.
Oh, thank you.
That's what we want. That's why we're slowly trying to increase the number of places that people will see our beer and try and get it into all the different regions so everybody has a chance.
Especially with our first canning availability and release this week. It was nice to see people from all over California say, hey, can we come pick up a couple of cases for our bottle shop in Mendocino, Santa Barbara, Bay Area. It's pretty awesome knowing there's people outside the region that are already kind of wanting our beer right now, which was unexpected to begin with.
And what do you think has helped with that?
I think what we get a lot of comments from everybody is that there's really not a bad beer on the board. I think that with each style we've made a very balanced, drinkable beer, and so I think that it doesn't matter if you're a hophead or you prefer the easy drinking or more European styles. I think everyone's come in and had an enjoyable experience. And with having that many options on the board, there's really no one that's come in, looked at the board, and walked away. So I think having that wide availability with all quality has really helped us appeal to almost any beer drinker in the area.
I feel like it's kind of a bigger package almost. It definitely is that, and it's everything else too. The whole idea of the tap room from the inception with these guys was they wanted a very aesthetically pleasing, pretty place, and I think it got pulled off pretty awesome. Our social media, we try and be as active as we can, but we tried to make the place where people come in and want to take pictures and want to share their experiences. So I think that's been a big factor to help increase all the different aspects of it that we are looking at. Increased sales in all different directions, increased accounts, increased demand. So it's a total package, I hope.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, you were talking about this mural on the wall and how it's going to be this amazing thing, and then it ended up being this amazing thing. It's great to look at.
Yeah.
And then you guys got the name Burning Barrel, and Jason, you were just filling barrels today. Like, as I walked in, you were filling barrels.
Yeah, exactly.
Ready to go.
Barrel everything. Stephen Williams did a really awesome job on the mural, and we couldn't be happier. So we try and just carry the barrel theme as far as we can. Yeah, definitely a big emphasis on barrel aging, which is what I was doing today, filling up 4 Breckenridge bourbon barrels, some Imperial Porter, so should be tasty.
Yeah, as Jason talked about, the vibe that we tried to get in the tasting room, and just, we had drawings and ideas on how we wanted to look and the vibe we wanted to have, and it just seemed like it all really came together just as we had hoped in terms of when you walk in the door. It was something to look at of interest in any direction.
Yeah, would you think a tap room that's boring and really not much to look at is going to really have as much action on social media, all over different avenues? I mean, nobody wants to come into a place repeatedly that just looks like an old office that shut down and now sells beer. So, definitely the looks is a big thing, but the beer is always number one.
And you guys have that open brewing where people can see what you're doing, and you've got it branded just like it's so somebody take a picture, they know exactly where they're at.
Yeah.
It's built to be noticed.
Yeah, the open brew house to the tap room is definitely something. It's interesting to watch the folks come over and stare and point and watch me while I'm trying to do something, or me and Duncan are in here trying not to make ourselves look like asses while we're trying to work, and people are watching us like hawks and sometimes recording us. It's quite different.
Yeah, they create a "Do Not Disturb the Brewers" sign that he puts up sometimes, but usually it's not a problem.
It's quite effective when you need it.
But are you allowed to feed the brewer?
I mean, beer is always accepted.
He does bite.
Yeah, I do. No, it's interesting, though. I mean, in my last place, I would be watched, but it was through a piece of glass. Now they can interact. So as long as they don't stop me from what I'm doing, I don't care. I love teaching people my craft anyways.
Do you ever get heckled? Someone's like, I can't believe you put a mosaic in this pale ale.
Not yet. I'm sure eventually it'll happen. So not yet, though.
We've had one guy come in and give us some suggestions, and I was like, okay, man.
Yeah, everybody's got their opinion on what the best beer tastes like, and everybody wants to share that. So that's fine. Always take it and listen. And
well, they are your consumers, So
yes,
get a little
that's
bit
why
of
I
input.
listen to every suggestion.
Implement different things.
Yes, they get filed in different places.
Right. But understanding it. If you hear it enough, you're like, maybe I should change that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, your beer tastes like sewer water. Oh, crap. Well, maybe I should work on that.
Maybe.
Thankfully, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, yet.
Yes.
We'll get there.
I'm working on it.
No, I've really liked just like hanging out at like local beer bars and like little tap rooms, and people will, like be like, what are you drinking? They're like, oh, it's this thing from Barn Barrels or whatever. And then like, what is it? Like, I remember the Monaco specifically.
Yeah.
There's this, and this person was just raving about it on a Friday night to like anybody who would listen.
Yeah, that one's been a strange one. I think it's kind of a love it or hate it, but more people love it than not. And at one of the recent beer fests we went out in Folsom, we had multiple people coming through 6, 7, 8 times asking for Monaco every single time. So it's been an interesting one. I think there's going to probably be another keg of it over at next week for their special events, but we shall see.
What do you think it is about the Monaco that like kind of stands out to some people?
Well, it's probably the least beer tasting beer that we have. It is a beer. Tell everybody that it's a wheat based beer, very similar to a Berliner Weiss, more accurately in a new style category called a Catarina sour. From South America. It's a fruited wheat-based sour. It's extremely approachable because it's supposed to taste like pomegranate limeade, and I think it kind of does. So, people come in, they're not necessarily hop heads, or they're not necessarily big dark beer drinkers. It's something that's definitely different that they've probably not had before. So hopefully that's what it is. Yeah, it's pretty and pink.
I mean, that's one of the big things you got to do in this day and age is always setting up for social media. So, everything from the flight boards to even the beer's appearance to everything, logo branding, glassware, shirts, it's all, you're advertising when someone's wearing your brand or taking photos, it's kind of an extension of us. And so you got to make it look good. And so our goal is to, when everyone posts a picture or anything like that, we want it to be as if we were posting a picture, the same quality. And I think with all the aesthetics and all the beer and glassware and stuff that have hit the mark on that one.
Yeah, the colorful beers definitely are eye-grabbing for sure. Most of the sours I make are usually some sort of color. I really enjoy using a variety of fruits. So yeah, I'm always going to have something sour on the board. Most likely just, in the beginning stages, some simple kettle sours with some varieties within that category, branching into true barrel-aged sours in near time, not too far away. I've got a lot of plans for that stuff already. We're trying to get these other bourbon barrels filled first, and then we'll move on to some wine barrels and maybe in another location and start making actual sour beer. So that's the plan.
I like the idea of the beer looking like very vibrant and alive, like the yeast.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, I love colored beers. And, I actually have some crazy ideas for some unique colored beers that are, I've seen them made, but not locally and hopefully not anywhere in the region even. So maybe some really, really deep blue beers, maybe some color-changing beers, a couple different things like that. I'm working on a project with a
completely clear beer that changes its flavor depending on which one is a mystery one.
Almost.
Mystery flavored ones that are
Almost.
clear. You can't tell what it is, so you drink it.
Almost. I'll leave a little bit of that up to imagination for now. But, I have a good friend that has a very special ingredient that's been used a few times in beer, and it has some pretty awesome color-changing characters to it if you put it in the right conditions. So let's just leave it at that. I'm working on something magical.
So it's going to be mushroom based. All right.
Yeah, no, totally. That's the base of all of our beers. What are you talking about?
High alcohol kombucha.
With wild forage psilocybin mushrooms.
Right. Perfect. Which is, I'm sure, legal.
Oh,
Totally
yeah,
fine.
probably somewhere it is, I'm sure.
I mean, you're
Put it on
served
the
over
label.
21, so it's fine.
Yeah, right? That's fine.
Just don't put it on the label. You're all good to go.
Yeah. No, not magical in that sense. But, some crazy colored beers that do weird things you wouldn't expect a beer to do. That's what I want to do.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think so.
Where did you even come up with that idea?
Well, the color changing one, a good friend of mine who makes excellent kombucha, that's how she introduced it to me as, hey, check out this kombucha. It changes color as it ages. So, yeah, I tried it, and it was amazing, and then I held on to some of it for a little while and watched it change colors a little bit more, and so I started exploring that avenue and what exactly the mechanism of color change is, and spoke to some winemaker friends and got input on different acidity traits and stuff like that. That's the direction I'm going to be, researching further and trying to develop that particular beer.
That's awesome.
Should be fun.
The important question is, can it also change color as it gets colder?
Probably not. It's not necessarily a mechanism of temperature.
But then how will I know when it's supposed to be drunk?
I know. Well, maybe we'll put it in some formerly used Coors Light cans, and you can wait for the mountains to turn blue.
We'll sanitize some.
Well, I guess if you're aging it, if it's like, well, it's going to be best when it's deep purple.
Well,
It's going to be a little smoky on the water.
In theory, it'll change color, but yeah. So yeah, that's the idea. And then these guys, Jack and Duncan, are really receptive to doing weird, out there things. So I really enjoy using weird ingredients and all sorts of just strange things that you wouldn't expect to see. So once we have a smaller pilot batch system, we're going to bring into the brewery, and we're going to start doing some practicing and testing and experimentation with all the weird stuff that I want to play with. So that's the plan.
All right, so soon, no IPAs on the board, just weird stuff for everybody.
Purple, orange, green, blue. No. Regular beers with some cool stuff on the side.
Okay.
Well, sort of regular beers. Exceptionally regular. No.
Yeah.
That's
normal, boring, everyday beers.
No, I mean, I like making all styles, so we're always going to have hoppy beers. We'll probably always have something hazy here and there for all the haze-crazed people, and obviously barrel age.
So, Jason, what is your brewing background?
Well, I started out, as most people do, home brewing, and I even, dabbled in some small scale, just personal home distilling and stuff like that.
Oh.
And then I started to realize that's more or less what I wanted to do, was brew and start to go towards that. I was in aviation for about 13 years and got kind of burned out with it after a while, and had a really great opportunity to leave that field and go into something I wanted to do. So I did. I worked for a friend of mine at his brewery out in Roseville for a little while, and then I worked in a home brewing supply company for a little while, and got to meet a lot of the local brewers, and got hired on at another local brewery, and was given great opportunity there at New Glory with Julian, and worked with Corey Meyer for the good first year and a half or so, learned a ton, and then got to work with Kyle Leddy for a little while, learned how he likes to do things, and I got to pick up a lot of really good knowledge, and I think it really prepared me for coming to Burning Barrel and trying to do my own thing and step out into my own. So that's kind of my background. Been doing it for going on 3 years now, just about to be 3. So not terribly long in a professional sense, but I've been brewing and making things for quite a while.
How did it like crab the range the first time?
Oh, well, obviously it's a little bit, nerve-wracking. All the responsibility is there on your shoulders now and not dispersed evenly with everybody else. So yeah, it's a lot of a lot of stress initially, but I love it. This is what I want to do. So I'm rolling with it. I've been in high stress situations a lot in my life, so this is just fun.
And Duncan and Jack, what drew you to Jason? What was like, we need a little bit of professional expertise in here?
He's the only one that applied. No, I'm kidding. Well, initially, when we were first starting to get open, I was just trying to, better connect with all the other brewers and owners. And I always saw Jason posting interesting things. And so I said, let's just grab a beer. And we were in one of those positions where we didn't know what our future was going to be in terms of personnel on the brewing side. If we wanted to just hire just one head brewer, assistants, it was kind of waiting for the right fit. And after talking with Jason and hearing his ideas and, knowing he's come from notable breweries that, we make quality beer that, we want to live up to, it was kind of a no-brainer. And so we just talked about it for a while and then decided to see if it's something that he was interested in. And I think it was a mutual fit at the perfect time. So we kind of just went from there, and I think it's been great so far.
Yeah, we didn't really have a specific plan as far as who was going to do the initial brews. I think our thinking was that we would do the initial brews, and because we had certain pilot batches and recipes that we definitely wanted to go with. But I think once we got so far into the project itself, of the build out of just this sheer scale of the effort, it was like, wow, if we really wanted to execute well, we should bring in somebody that would just focus on the beer side, and Duncan is really focused on the operations side, the tasting room. So it allowed us to open at the scale that we're at, because we opened up as a fairly decent sized microbrewery out of the gates.
Yeah, you had, 8 or 10 beers on tap?
Yep. We think we opened with 8, and then we quickly brought on 2 more. But yeah, what he was saying is, essentially you think that you're going to, wear the hat and everything, but in order for it to run smooth and to keep your sanity, you got to kind of divide up the labor, and each person that's doing that specific task has to be great at it for you to succeed. That's why, when we posted our job application or availabilities for tasting room servers, I think I got 250 applications. And so I went through all of them, shrunk them down to 50, and then interviewed about 40 of those. And I think that's why we're also doing so well, is if you look at the reviews and the responses, it's always great customer service. And you can't understaff, you can't settle for average service. You have to have the best service if you want to do well and provide a great experience for people. Same thing with the brewing. You can't, want to cut costs and just maybe hire somebody that does it part-time or doesn't go full in or have the experience or desire to learn every day. Even with operations, sales, distribution, you always have to try to hire the best people and, just go for it head first.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it greatly, and all the beers that they talked about wanting to make. I am a collaborative brewer. I don't ever want to just brew only mine and nothing else. So I love looking at their homebrew recipes they've made dozens of times, and their friends rave about. And we scale them up and modify them a little bit to fit production scale. And we've made several of their homebrew beers that have turned out amazing. Today's Disaster was one of our most popular beers we opened with. That's a homebrew recipe that these guys have made, a dozen times. And then Golden Daydream is another one. It's a recipe of Jack's, actually. It's a golden milk stout that I took the recipe and just kind of said, hey, I think it'd be really good with this and some vanilla and some other stuff like that. And it turned out amazing. So, I love the fact that these guys are also brewers. So it's not me, the only person making up recipes. I get to work with these guys and make really fun stuff. So we'll keep doing that.
I think it's always important to also check yourself. If you're just kind of doing it by yourself, you don't get the input of anyone else. You can kind of lose sight or maybe not think of ideas that, are beneficial. So, typically with the recipe development, it's essentially we have 3 different house yeasts that we use, and we try to cycle it. So one time we use this yeast, the next beer we're going to use the next one up. And it's how do we make a killer beer with each one of those, yeast strains. And then we talk about, kind of flavor profile, ingredients, cost of ingredients, and then Jason pretty much does the rest on the technical side with, writing the recipe, putting in the orders and all that. So
I think what that boils down to is that if one person or even two persons were trying to run complete operations, run tap room, run everything all yourself, that's a pretty daunting task for a brewery this size, especially just coming out the gate. So I was really happy to come on with these guys and kind of just try and hit the ground running as far as brewing goes.
Have you guys had any trouble keeping up with demand because you guys have hit the ground running so fast?
A bit. Yeah, I mean, we blew through today's disaster really
2.5
quickly.
weeks.
Yeah, and so that's why at first we didn't want to do any crowler sales because we didn't want to run out of beer. It's been really steady, even on a slow day. It's pretty busy.
Yeah.
And so looking at the amount of kegs we go through on a weekly basis, it's pretty significant. So we've been keeping the fermenters full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even that one canning run we just did, put us back on that, yeast strain and the whole hazy IPA thing a little bit. But, you always got to keep doing new things, stay hot, and, provide something that people are going to love. So I think we just ordered 4 new tanks, and so that's going to help with capacity and being able to bring on some new beers. So within a month, we've already ordered 4 new tanks. So
yeah. Pretty much doubling your size.
We will not have any problem keeping up with demand, though. I mean, we run short on a few things here and there, but we're always going to have beers on our list. We're never going to be out of any one particular thing. But, yeah, demand has been nuts. And with 4 fermenters, our cold room space is pretty large, but, it can only hold so much beer. So it's kind of been good that the demand has been steady. It means pulling out the kegs and reorganizing the cold room and fitting a couple more batches in there. We've seen other breweries open up and have issues right out of the gate with keeping beers on tap. So that was, pre-planned and pre-thought about, that we wanted to open up with beers in inventory ready to come so that we didn't have any sort of issues in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, we prolonged the opening for almost a month just to be able to have 8 beers on tap and have enough inventory to where we could start crowlers after the first week and have at least 8 beers with 5+ categories. So I think that really stands out of the breweries that are really respected and have a name are the ones that can do multiple styles very well and always have an availability because the operations are running smooth. You can kind of tell if a brewery's may have some issues with the organization or anything like that, but I think we've been pretty on top of it, and we really never let a tank sit empty for more than a day. We always have it already planned out. Ingredients are there, ready to go. And so we've done a good job on that side of things for production.
Yeah, so you guys got to move into the operations side of it as far as that goes, Duncan. What was the hardest part of making that transition from the expectation of being the brewer and handling that and operations to kind of scaling it back to make sure you were the best you could possibly be?
Just knowing how many checks you have to write to who and when. Just the taxes, manufacturing taxes, sales taxes, licenses. There's just so many people at the end of the day you owe money to.
It's a long list of responsibilities.
Yeah, and so the first of the month is coming up, so that's going to be 2 whole days of, creating all of our manufacturing and sales reports, writing all those checks, providing documentation. And there's still things I talk to, a select group of brewery owners and always ask questions even still. I'm like, hey, what are you doing for this? And then I still learn everything, you actually can do this online rather than mail it in for this, portal that, of course, they never tell you about. It's just there. There's really no, how to do it book. It's everyone for themselves. And then if you miss one, then you come in and get audited and get screwed. So
get a penalty.
Yeah, just asking all the other breweries about everything. Staying
where having really
good
friends comes in handy.
Yeah.
Especially brewery owner friends that we can rely on for questions on things that maybe we haven't dealt with just yet.
Yeah, and then not coming from a management role from a brewery or tasting room or a restaurant. Just the things about, scheduling, payroll, and, tips and all that stuff. We have that handled pretty well now, but, when you're first getting going, like anything, it's pretty hectic.
Learn as you go.
Yeah, but, we're just glad to have really good beer tenders that can handle themselves and don't need babysitting and, can trust them. I thought for the first 2-3 months I wouldn't be able to leave this place until we close every day. Now, if I don't, if I leave at like 4 o'clock, if the operations work is done, I can trust that my 2 employees working on a Tuesday are going to know what to do and make sure the place is looking nice for tomorrow. So I think the key coming back to is just hire the best people you can and makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, and I've been doing this podcast for 3 years. You're not the first person who's been like, I'm going to be the everything, that had to realize, oh, there's so much more to running a brewery than I thought. And so you've got this well to draw from people who've been in your exact position and be like, here's what I had to learn on the fly as well that can help you like kind of make that transition a little bit easier.
I think the benefit was that we made those judgments early before we had to. The idea of bringing on Jason as head brewer, we did that a long time ago. He actually was here when we were building it out, helped. He was doing aircraft wiring and that sort of stuff in the Navy. So for him to come in and help debug some wiring or hook something up, he could read a schematic. So he was here early enough to really be a complete part of putting together the brew house and help operationalize everything. So it wasn't like we had to catch up to making a bad decision. We made even though that wasn't something that we had planned, say, 2 years ago, we made it early enough to where by the time it was important, he was already in place. And so we got all the benefits of that decision.
I got the benefits too, honestly. I mean, I get to watch a brewery literally be born from a bare building into a functioning brewery. That sort of experience is pretty valuable, being able to see that every step of the way and know the problems that you're going to see if you ever have to deal with that again, which if we open more locations, we're going to have to deal with these same problems over and over again, which is fine.
Well, and also you know exactly how everything is set up.
Exactly.
Yeah, if there's an issue with the one of the valves on like the glycol lines, it's like, oh, well, I know exactly why that's not working.
We did all that.
Yeah. So it's definitely worth it to be able to do it yourself, building out things, because number one, you have the knowledge. Number two, you save tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, right.
So
being able to do it yourself is a huge asset in this industry if you can.
Yeah.
And then with the overlap of skill sets between the three of you, and you can kind of just interchange when you need to. If somebody's out sick or hurt or just on vacation, you're like, I can take over this part while they're gone, because we all know a little bit about what everybody's already doing. Before we even started this brewery, we already knew what we were doing in these fields.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jason still obviously runs the whole brew house and things, but on a weekend, if need to, I can, dry hop a beer, dump shrub, or
plus I have cameras that I can watch you and
Yeah.
yell at you through.
CIP tanks.
Yeah.
So
We have two-way cameras everywhere, so
yeah,
Let's hear,
they're walkie-talkies
"I see you."
essentially.
They're in secret locations, don't worry.
Yeah.
The video episode I never wanted.
Hey guys, it's me, Ben Rice, the host of the Barley and Me podcast. I just want to let you know that the 4th Annual California Craft Beer Summit and Beer Festival is the premier event for the craft brewing community across California and the West Coast. This event is happening September 6th through the 8th in Sacramento, California. Get the backstage pass to California craft brewing industry. Network with established and up-and-coming brewers, learn from equipment vendors and suppliers, and get a few tips on how to perfect and improve your beer. On the expo hall floor, learn from brewing industry innovators and pioneers, including Greg Cook of Stone Brewing, Richard Norgrove Jr. of Bear Republic Brewing, Dr. Charlie Bamforth of UC Davis, and Tamil Zainashev of Heretic Brewing, amongst others. Educational sessions include Sour Barrel Manager's Q&A, and take your home-brewed beer from good to great to help you continue to hone your craft. The 3-day event ends in a celebration, the largest California Craft Beer Festival. More than 160 breweries pour special releases and hard-to-find beers from across California in front of the state capitol. The summit is a valuable educational event for everyone in the craft beer industry. Whether you're looking to start your own brewery, pair beer with food, taste and discuss different beer styles, advance your understanding of distribution channels, build a beer list, or start a barrel aging program. Tickets are available for one day or the entire summit event at www.cacraftbeersummit.com.
So you said you were in aviation for a while. Did you
Yes.
go, was that a military-based thing, or was it like aviation school that you went to?
I started in the military. Yeah, I was in the Navy. Joined way back in 2005. and I was an aviation electrician. So then my first job in the Navy, I worked in a shop, like a back shop. So if something breaks on an airplane up in the avionics area where the pilots are at, they don't fix it while it's on the plane. They take that whole thing out, send it to me, I fix it, and then it goes back. So I did that for a couple years, and then did some different stuff in the military for a while. Went to Iraq for a while, did a combat mission deployment with the Navy, but for the Army. Worked at a prison over there for a while. Got out of that, went to Hawaii and worked on helicopters in Hawaii for about 2.5 years. Loved it there. Loved Hawaii, loved helicopters, and miss them dearly. Got out in 2011, came back, went to school for a couple years, and got a really good job offer at an aerospace company out in Lincoln that has big, multi-million-dollar business jets. So I worked on those for a while, and that's where I got burned out. Civilian side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, corporate side is very different from the structure of a military, where a military is sort of corporate, kind of. It's more socialist than anything, in a good way. But corporate side of aerospace is very different. It's very controlled, very, very corporate, which I reached a point where I couldn't do that anymore. I got promoted into having my own department and having meetings and conference calls all day long. And I got sick of it. So
you're like, I have these skills I'd like to use. I don't want to teach them. I want to do it.
Exactly.
It's hands-on. Like, when you know something, you don't want to teach somebody. It's boring.
It's, sitting in a windowless room with, a coworker that's about 35 to 40 years older than me. That got a little boring. So I had an opportunity that popped up to change careers and do whatever I wanted to do that made me happy. So I did that, and that's what got me into beer. But aviation lasted a while, and I loved it, and I do miss it. But I wouldn't want to work in the civilian side of aviation again.
Yeah, I'm noticing that more and more. I know a lot of people that did that kind of stuff, and they all, they were in the military, then they moved to what's the word I'm looking for? They're not quite civilian. They're like working in like private sector.
Oh bit. Yeah, like contractors and all that.
Yeah, they're like they enjoy that. Then they move to the public sector. Like, I hate this so much.
It's very, very different.
And I think that's really, if I'm going to be honest, anybody with a job. I think anybody with a job is like, I hate this. This is
well, I don't know.
Not in control of what you're doing.
I have a job, and I quite love it.
Sorry, when you don't control what you're doing, when you're working for somebody who's like a faceless thing hundreds of miles away, there's just this thing where you're just like, what's the
there's a huge
cog?
Disconnect. Yeah, exactly. You're just a cog in the wheel, just a worker. And that's not fun for anybody, especially me. I'm a creative person. I like to be creative in all sorts of different ways. And sitting in a room working on circuit boards all day long under a microscope is like, it's kind of mind numbing. So this is significantly better.
But you're still under a microscope, though.
Different kind.
Different doing yeast counts.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at something more fun than a burnt out resistor or transistor or whatever it may be.
Yeah. So just make it so it's a very personal, interconnected thing here. My grandpa used to have a record for fastest, most accurate work in aviation at Mather Field.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
well, there's something to be said. The accurate part's what's key.
Right, yeah.
Anybody can do it fast.
It's a speed test, but it's still like you can't be fucking up. Like, anybody can go fast.
No, the plane will crash and people will die.
Yeah, right.
So, there's no fucking up in aviation. There's no room for error. And honestly, that kind of bleeds over to brewing. Obviously, no one's going to crash and die. Yeah. But nobody wants to
well if the beer is
exactly. Nobody wants to throw beer down the drain. So the potential for crashing and burning in a different way is still there. Thankfully, I've been able to avoid that so far.
Yeah, I have none of that attention to detail or dexterity. I can't do any of it. Just real inattentive and like just what are hands doing?
What do I do with my hands?
Can't do any of it. Like all my family's like, we're all musicians. I'm like, can't play a guitar. Don't what hand one doing another thing? I can't even fathom how you make that work.
So comedy and podcasts or your
because I was going to sit there. Just, my hands can do whatever they want. They don't have to be in rhythm at all. Like just nothing.
You're a big thinker like me. I can't sit there and just do one little meticulous task.
Yeah, I remember the first time I tried to play guitar. My dad gave it to me for my 16th birthday, I think, and I was like, I'm gonna go play this thing. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I've always been. You give me a thing, I'm gonna be good at it. I'm good at everything I do. I'm not gonna take a lesson. I'm not gonna read a book. I'm gonna be like, all right, this thing sounds like this. And oh my god, after like 3 hours, this is how good I was at things when I was a kid. I was like, 3 hours, I'm not great at this. Oh fuck it.
I'm pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
God, it sounds like my daughter. She's 8, and she wanted to go horse riding, and so we signed her up for horse riding lessons. And the week before, we're talking, and she tells me, I think I know how to ride horses already. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you don't.
No, you get on them.
No,
They go up, you try
it's not
you
that
go.
hard. I'm pretty sure I know how. I'm like, okay, how'd you learn how to do that? Well, I had a dream about it last night, and I'm pretty sure I know how to ride horses.
Seems pretty logical to me.
Yeah, totally. Nailed it. But now she's riding horses, so hey, maybe I was wrong.
But how good was she initially?
maybe not the best.
Oh.
But she has a helmet, so.
And pads, I hope?
Pads are for sissies.
Yeah. Get some cuts. It's fine. It won't
Rub a little dirt in it.
Yeah. I also, my first stepdad built a Cobra from scratch.
Helicopter
No,
or
no,
a snake?
The car?
Okay. Yeah.
From scratch.
One of those kit cars?
Yeah, everything from scratch.
I'm a little confused.
Found skin in the
Yeah,
field.
I'm like, I forget what the other thing that goes behind that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like one of those Shelby Cobras.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
the word. I
those
was
are probably
forgetting.
like kit cars I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool.
And it was like, come watch me and like help me out. I'm like, cool. I will hold this light and look at anything but what you are doing.
Yes. I'm very familiar with hold the light and then end up getting yelled at.
Yeah. Not there. I'm like, I'm not paying attention.
But
at
you get a
all.
little older and it changes, so.
But yeah, it's so stupid because like if I'd paid attention, I could be making tons of money and not doing
Right.
this damn podcast hoping it breaks.
Eventually.
I could be doing great things. I'm not doing it at all. Because like they say, youth is wasted on the young.
Right?
And so Duncan, I think that actually applies to you. Like you
Everybody
started a
says.
brewery when you were like what, 23, 24 years old. Like I'm gonna start a brewery.
Yeah, I just turned 24. So.
Right. Most people do this when they're me and Jason's age. Like older than that.
A little bit older.
And like it's too like you could start young, and like that's
Well, I don't know. I
awesome.
mean, I came from a brewery that was opened when the owner was 24.
Yeah.
And, they're doing pretty damn well for
Right.
themselves.
It's so awesome.
I think age is a thing,
I think the benefit of that is that I got one of my degrees in marketing, and 10 years ago the marketing was focused on maybe radio and TV ads. Like I literally learned how to read like Facebook analytics for advertising, Instagram, Snapchat advertising, which is pretty much everything there is right now for beer that's not paid. And so having that new age knowledge and background was key, because like all my classes were directly associated with what I'm doing now.
I think that's how people that are your age succeed in this, is that they have, knowledge that a lot of other kids your age don't care to even possess. They're busy doing other things.
Yeah.
That's what I think, at least. You're a smart kid. You're young, but you freaking have a really great head on your shoulders and a ton of drive to do what you want to do, and you're damn good at doing it.
Plus, you entered an industry where people that have been doing it for decades will still talk to somebody who's like, I'm thinking about starting maybe. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you everything you need to know. And that's where that youth is wasted on the young kind of goes to the wayside for you, because you're using your youth by accessing the people that were like, I wish I knew this when I was your age.
Yeah, that's why I think we all try and foster the community of the beer industry out here in Sac specifically. They help us immensely. All of our friends do.
Yeah, and even like the people that may, be 40s and 50s that don't have someone like me of our age doing this, is they're actually reaching out to me about like, oh, how did you plan that music event, or how did you, roll out for your can release that was, very successful. And so, because if you could do it right, you really don't have to pay for advertising these days for this industry. So it's nice seeing, like, I'll ask them for help, with the taxes and stuff, and then they'll ask me for help about how to market and do events and things. So it's a good trade-off.
It's crazy how you can just do that now.
Yeah.
It used to be so much harder to get into the market. And you're like, no, I know everything I need to know to get in there. And I think that's really helped you guys push it in just a month. Get places where most breweries get in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we're with our cans, we're already in 30+ of the more well-known beer locations with our cans, which has been busy for me. I was driving out to the Bay Area yesterday to a couple of the better-known, craft bottle shops out there, and today in, Placer County area. But, if it's hot, you got to take advantage of it, and, you got to always be making people more aware of your beer. You know, I'll still call up some of the more, better known beer shops, maybe 30 to an hour away, and they might not have heard of us because there's so much going on in the industry. So if you kind of attack it, head on and really want to succeed, the room is there for it.
And if you have cans.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, we're still on a can rush right now where bottling is pretty much dead aside from very specific styles that still see bottles on a regular.
Yeah.
Cans are king, and stores can carry cans. Stores may not be able to carry your kegs, but they can sure as hell carry cans, and they love them.
We tripled our accounts overnight after we did the cans because, there are so many craft beer people. And, even you see on Facebook and SBE and stuff, people are like, oh, just had this can from this place, never heard of the brewery. This is awesome. Where are they located? And they may be 15, 20 minutes away from us.
Well, that's another good thing about the trade network of, people that are enthusiasts in beer all across the country. We're getting, hit up for trades in the East Coast and all over the place, really. I have family and a lot of friends in Houston, and, I know they want beer. So it'll be interesting to see our beer spread out across the country and hit some different places.
We are doing some beer competitions and festivals out of the state, too, coming up. Right,
Why
Jason?
not?
You got to plant those seeds.
We'll got to go visit Texas.
Yeah, Texas, Connecticut, doing a few competitions to see how we, stack up to some of the other best breweries in those regions.
Yeah, I mean, we want to take over the area, obviously. That's what any local brewery wants to do, is be the hot thing in the area. But I think we definitely want to keep our eyes open at other markets and other regions. I mean, why not? If the demand is there and somebody wants to buy our beer, I have no problem shipping you some beer. But yeah, I don't know. Exposure's good. I don't think it has to be just a local market thing. We want to do collabs with breweries all over the place, because why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we see our beer all over the place, just outside of our market and in our market, obviously.
Yeah, and even doing a beer fest somewhere else, it'll be people to, come out here and be like, I'm in the area. I'll go check out the actual place where I got this beer at this festival 3 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even if we're not going to be distributing to Texas immediately, we still want to compete in beer fest or in beer comps, and, why not attend a fest if you have the time to? But who knows? These markets that we like, if we like them enough, maybe we'll find enough breweries out there to talk to and work with where we can set up a distributorship in the future.
And do you think that's really where beer is going right now, where you pair up with other breweries' distribution channels?
It's a very popular thing to do right now. The collab train is full steam ahead right now. For me, I view it as what it actually is. It's a collaborative effort between other people that are like-minded. So for me, it's a fun day of hanging out with friends and talking about beer and making beer together. But yeah, it seems like it's a thing these days. Everybody wants to do collabs.
You kind of, once you get into the circle, you're in the circle. I mean, you see all these breweries, especially in Sacramento, they do a collab here, and then all of a sudden, they're one of the 6 breweries that keep doing collabs at this place, and then the next time they go to this place, it seems like it keeps circling back within the same amount of breweries, and now they're branching out to, Bay Area breweries like Alvarado Street, Humble Seas, Sante Darius, and then San Diego. It seems like there's, kind of an inner workings, and the always goal is to get into the group of, the top-notch breweries, but, you obviously have to prove yourself to be there, and so it was pretty cool how Dan from Hop Dogma, just was a cool enough guy before he even had any of our beer, before he made any of our beer, to come out and do a collab, putting his name on the line for us. I think
on your opening.
Yeah, it was the 3rd beer we ever brewed, and Hop Dogma has a pretty reputable name and makes some killer beer, and for him to come out.
But it's good for him, too, because a lot of people that came into the taste rooms and in Sacramento had never heard of them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a chance. I think that's a big reason for collabs. It's a chance to get your name maybe on the a little beyond your natural market.
Yeah.
But you still want to be paired with quality breweries because...
Exactly.
So it was pretty cool, and, definitely with his big expansion and a potential new project he has in mind with a paired brewery with another brewery right now. I think it was a good opportunity for him as well. We got introduced to a new hop that I've never worked with, and he's been cool, and we exchange hops all the time still today.
Which hop was that?
It was the Australian Ella hop that I've never worked with.
That's a good one.
And he was kind enough to donate, substantial amounts of extra as like a happy opening gift, and we've used it in 2 or 3 beers now. It turned out pretty excellent. So,
hey, you. Do you love craft beer? Do you love craft beer brewed and bottled here in Northern California? Well, if you do, we got a magazine for you. ABV Magazine is the only local print publication covering Northern California's amazing craft beer and spirits community. Each issue features behind-the-bottle conversations, reviews, booze-based destinations, and a comprehensive guide to breweries, taprooms, bottle shops, and distilleries in Northern California. You can sign up for only $1 a month and have each issue delivered right to your front door. Check it out at abvmagazine.com. And from all of us here at ABV Magazine, cheers, and thanks for supporting local craft beer. That's abvmagazine.com, alcohol by volume.
Definitely looking to do some collabs with some local friends and all that, too. I mean, just for my personal sake, I have a lot of friends in Sac that I would love to brew beer with together, simply because why not? It's the same as homebrew days, where you have your friends come over and you all hang out and have a couple beers and make some beer together. So I definitely look forward to working with our neighbors, like Brian over at Claim Steak, and my friends out in Elk Grove, and all over Sac. I'm really looking forward to being able to do some fun stuff within Sac as well as outside.
Yeah, or us and Brian have been talking about something pretty cool to do, an inner Rancho one. Being in the same city and being able to do a true collaboration at both of our spots would be pretty special for the city and for both of our names, because we do have the same regulars, and so...
Yeah, and you can go to each one. It's like slightly different because the system's different. You do like one slight different change in the way that you create your beer. Mm-hmm. And it's like you can go, what is it, 1.5 miles?
Yeah, 1.2 miles.
Yeah.
I've looked it up. Mainly because I know I can fly a drone all the way there.
I can't run there because I'm out of shape, but you could drive there pretty easily.
I said walk for a reason.
Yeah. Or a bike.
Walk briskly.
High school me's kicking my ass. It's like, I used to run 2 miles for no reason. Why would I ever do that now?
Yeah, right.
So I think one of the weird things that I never really think about anymore that used to be like really heavy was the tied house laws, where like you couldn't self-distribute. What kind of happened there, where people are like just willy-nilly just bringing their beers to places? That used to be like a thing, like you can't.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on where you're talking about. Those laws are obviously still in place, and they still exist. Yeah, they might be a little bit looser. I think interpretation, like you mentioned, has slowly morphed over time to, it might be okay to do this, but no, I don't know. The laws are very cut and dry, to be honest. So maybe the tendencies of folks have changed a little bit over time with experiencing those laws, but they're all still the same.
Changes state to state pretty dramatically. I mean, that's why you see California as having the most breweries, is because we have the most lenient craft brewery laws in the country.
Well, as well as some laws to protect us too.
Yeah,
pay to play and all that.
Yeah, so we have like the CCBA, and all of our dues also help for a legal team that helps fight the big distributors and quote unquote big beer from kind of doing what the spirits industry has done, is kind of keep out the small players. That's why you don't see too much craft distilling, is because you can't go to a tasting room and purchase their products.
Well, you can now.
Yeah,
that's recently changed.
But you can't purchase
recently,
a drink. You can't purchase a cocktail. You can go purchase a product. But in Montana, you go to a distillery, you can have their whiskey on the rocks, and the tasting room pays $7.
Yeah, or a cocktail or what have you.
Yeah, and so while California has the CCBA, which is very powerful because there's so many breweries that put so much money behind it, the distilling laws are rather strict, and it's the opposite in other states. Like I think Florida just changed up their laws to allow self-distribution now. And even other states, they have a cap on how much beer you can sell a night in your tasting room.
Yeah, and then you got Texas, where you have to sell all of your beer to a distributor and then repurchase from them to be able to serve it in your own brewery's tap room.
Yeah, I think Maryland
insane.
is the same way.
Yeah,
well.
that should be.
It's insane.
Can you sell it to the distributor at a discount?
No. I would assume people are probably trying to create their own distributorships.
It's 3 cents a gallon.
Yeah,
right.
Which is just wrong, because because they're scared. I mean,
Yeah.
Alaska right now
Right.
has an open bill.
Because Texas is still one of the bigger, like, macro brewing states, correct?
Oh.
They have the Lone Star and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like, when
they
you
have a
consider-
ton of craft breweries, though.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
It's
I
growing like
just
crazy,
know the
and I'm
ones
sure
in
it's
Houston, and
terrifying.
I know Brash and like Eighth Wonder and all the other well-known breweries. There's a ton. I think that's everywhere, though. I have friends in Jacksonville, Florida. My buddy's like, "Oh man, we got so many breweries here. I think we're to like 30 now," and I'm like, "Oh, well, that's cool." I
that down
think
the
we're
street.
probably like punching on 90 by now. I don't know. 2 years ago, it was in the mid 70s in Sacramento, so we're climbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is because of the laws in California. Plus, this is sort of where craft beer originated in California. That's why people look to the West Coast as you know, really setting the bar as far as hoppy beers and IPAs. Now, obviously, it's all over the country now, but look at people like Anchor and some of the other earlier guys.
Yeah.
like Lagunitas, Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, I mean, when you start talking about like the classics, the only one you can really bring in is Boston Beer Company. Anywhere else, if you could think in ones that have made an impact across the nation in the '80s, like
Yeah.
who else are you talking about? New Belgium, I guess.
Anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anchor's the only one to make it through
But,
the
but
prohibition.
Anchor's California still. It's still like if you go outside of
Yeah.
California, you're talking New Belgium, you're talking Sam Adams, and that's like
We're talking the
really,
big beers only, really.
Yeah.
You know, as far as smaller craft, yeah, I think like Sam Adams was, he's huge now, but he was craft originally.
I mean,
I think he still is.
what was it, like 30 years ago? There was still, 2,000 breweries in the country? But it wasn't like a big thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now there's 3,200 or something like that. But it's just crazy how many craft breweries there used to be, too, until they started cracking down on them. But, yeah.
Yeah. You just there's all this fear, and then it just got overwhelmed.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, you're going to scare us off? No, we're just going to build our numbers up to like 10 times that. And
Yeah,
then,
we'll
try
just
to defend
squash
it
you down.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy just how many breweries are opening up. It's like, okay, when is this going to stop? But if you look at the entire market, I think craft beer sales make up only 18% of the entire beer sales market in the whole country. So there's still a ton of room to grow, I think. It's just more now it's not introducing better products. It's better educating and getting your product into more stores. Like the more craft beer at 7-Eleven, the more people that are going to slowly turn to it.
Yeah.
So that's the goal now, is to try to bring as much independent craft beer to the market as possible. And
But there are a lot of new entrants. I think it was 3 weekends ago when I was here, and on a Saturday, 3 different people came in saying, "Hey, just wanted to say hi. I'm starting up a brewery. Wanted to talk to you." It's like, really? Where are
Yeah.
you? I mean, somebody I'd never heard of, and it's 3 in one day.
Do you ever just go, we just opened, yes?
well, yeah, it depends on when you say starting up a brewery. It means
Could mean
could mean a
2
number
years.
of things.
And like what you guys have done, like as far as creating the space and how you lay it out, like that's an important thing to know when you're going into like
Yeah.
the very beginning planning stages.
I think the hard part is a lot of people think this is just a cool hobby that's going to make them money, which is it's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
You
my,
can always tell those breweries.
That's my
though.
favorite question when
Yeah.
you're interviewing. Tell me what a day here is like. What do you think a day here is like? Oh, well, do this, do that, have some beers. At the end of the day, hang out with your friends, have some beers. I'm like,
This is a
not
manufacturing company, and we have, not as extreme margins as everyone believes. Like, oh, just give me don't charge me for that. Like, you guys make so much money, and it's like, just start. The overhead alone of any big brewery like this is extremely high.
Well, and also these people, I don't think they realize the 18-hour days and
Oh, yeah.
the 6 months of 18-hour days.
Yeah.
Of what it takes just to open.
I was in the military for a while, and this is literally the most physically demanding job I've had. Tossing in nearly 2,000 pounds of grain. Well, yeah, that's either me or Duncan doing that, and we're doing that a couple times a week. So yeah, it's not an easy job. People want to think it's a glamorous, just fun. It is fun, and I'm on a very glamorous podcast right now, so obviously I'm doing pretty well for
When I
myself.
think of you, I think of glamorous, so I think it must be
Right.
glamorous.
You just took some glamour shots a second ago.
No, this job is awesome, though. It's very, very fun. You get to hang out with your friends, and you get to do fun things. But you will bust your ass, and you will injure yourself, and you will do all sorts of other fun things.
Yeah, so I know, Jason, you have to get going here in a second. So
Shortly.
let's just wrap this thing up. So any parting thoughts, any important piece of wisdom for people out there trying to get into the brewing world?
Definitely do. If you want to join the brewing world, do it. I mean, literally. That's what I did. I decided I wanted to do it, and I did it, and now I'm doing it. So if you want it, go get it.
But
don't
you're
expect
to start from the very bottom unless you get a degree in brewing, because when I try to get in brewing in San Diego, good luck.
Yeah. If you want to come join the industry, come join the industry. But you are going to bust your ass for a while. You have to pay your dues. Everybody has to pay their dues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
unfortunately, it's one of those industries where a lot of companies don't pay the best wages to when you're first getting into it, and so
it's another big part of getting into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those
sacrifice.
things.
If you want to do it, you better. The first 2 years, you're not making fuck all nothing.
Yeah, and then you just kind of either have to be in the right place at the right time, or just have excellent skills, and then you can go from there.
If you want in the industry, come on in.
There's plenty of space.
There is space, yeah. I mean, look at how many new breweries are opening up. It's the truth, though.
Yeah, if you want to get in, just talk to somebody.
Try
them,
and
look on the beers and
work your ass
jobs
off.
page.
Be willing to take a lower paying job that you are very physically demanded on a daily basis
with crazy hours.
Yeah, and it's great.
But if you can do that, if you can just deal with all of that,
yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you love it, come on in. It's a pretty welcoming industry. So,
and what kind of events do you guys have going on here at Burning Barrel in the next couple of weeks?
So on the 7th, we have some live music from Jason Weeks. He played the other day, and he's
amazing.
Absolutely phenomenal single musician, but he sounds like a whole band. We're putting on the Sacramento Beer Enthusiast Halloween Party on the 27th of October. We have a costume contest, live music.
And we'll be doing a special beer as well.
Beer, possibly collaboration
definitely
with them.
more to come on that.
Yeah, more info to come. And we have Juero on the 20th of...
That would be a band.
Yeah, it's a band. On the 20th, I believe from 5 to 8 as well. And so we're just trying to keep it fun. Every Friday, Saturday, we try to do a new beer release, live music. So it's never a bad time. Even on a Monday with football starting too, we have Monday night football, Thursday night football.
Yeah.
And
got 4 TVs, so there's always something on.
Yeah. And then, in the immediate future, we got the Craft Beer Summit coming up. We didn't make the cutoff deadline to be able to pour there, but we will be there, and you will see our beer at multiple different booths there.
And our commercial.
Yeah, and then the 5th, the day before it all kind of kicks off at Craft Beer Summit.
The day of release of this episode.
Right.
So get on it early. It's to tell you that, but also.
So listen to this podcast and then go see my buddy over at... We're going to have at least 3, maybe 4 beers on tap that day for the Welcome to Sacramento day to welcome all the other craft brewers from California.
So once you're done with this podcast, put down the phone or the radio or whatever device you're using and
hop in an Uber.
Yeah.
Yes, and we were lucky enough to from Haney Biz Marketing to be doing a full-on commercial that they're going to be displaying.
Oh yeah,
because
that was a fun one.
They are getting into craft beer now. It's a huge company, and they wanted an example of what they can do to showcase breweries, and so they offered it free of charge to us. And for the last few weeks, they've been filming, doing special edits, and that's going to be airing at their booth at the Craft Beer Summit and also on our website and social media pages.
All sorts of CGI, drones, high definition, everything. It's going to be awesome.
Did you fly those drones?
I didn't. I was being filmed by the drones while me and Duncan were trying to work.
Yeah.
Pretending to work.
Yeah, pretending, trying. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, there was beer involved.
Somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you have these musicians out here, is there a cover charge for that at all?
Nope. So there's no cover charge. We take care of all the price of the musician. If it's a multi-person band, we create a stage around our barrels. Single musicians are on the floor by the bar, and it's been pretty good so far. We kind of see the vibes. If it's going to be a big party, we may have a more upfront band like Ghost Town Rebellion was pretty out there with their rock.
Great.
Yeah, they were really good.
But then the single musicians for more chill hours. Seems like almost everyone I talked to, we just stuck around for another hour because they were so good. So,
are you a fantastic musician that would like to come play for us? I don't know. Maybe hit us up.
Yeah.
Burning Barrel.
Always
Hit us
looking
up
for
on
new
social
talent.
media.
And Sacramento's booming with musicians. It always has been. It's been
amazing
hotbed for
musicians
for years.
Yeah, so we're trying to showcase that, and I think we have a really cool venue. Ghost Town said this was the coolest venue they've played so far, which is pretty sweet. Yeah,
I've seen their flyers all over California.
That guy rocks pretty hard,
really
and the
talented.
drummer is out of control in a good way, smashing his drum sets. So yeah, we have always live music, always new beer coming out. We really never make the same beer twice, and it's a good time at the Burning Barrel any day of the week.
I feel like I've heaped a lot of praise on you guys so far. I've been like, hey, great job on adapting and like making great beers. And Jack, I just want to point out that you made the Burning Barrel labels or the logo above the brewery, correct?
Well, we made pretty much everything you see in the tasting.
Oh, yeah. Jack
you were the one posting the pictures like, look, I just finished this fucking B.
Yeah.
Give
me a B.
They look amazing.
Give me an A.
Yeah,
Give me an R.
great. They look
let's
phenomenal.
And then I got bored, and I was going to say, what's that spell? And I was like, I got bored.
Nobody wants
close
it.
enough.
Let's not go as far as to say that we built this. You built this, Jack. Every single table, every single bar top, everything you see in here was literally fabricated by hand. So, yeah.
It's nuts.
Well, that's what I was saying. It all came together at the end, and it really looks as cool as we hoped it.
Yeah, so definitely follow Burning Barrel on social media at
Burning Barrel Brew Co. BREWCO .com or / Burning Barrel Brew Co. on Instagram and Facebook.
Nice. All right, guys, I think that's it. You guys
All
righty.
Nice to see you again.
This has been episode 81 of Barley Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. You can follow Barley Me at Barley and Me Pod. Email questions, comments, concerns to barleyandmepodcast.com because I'm not a thinker. I didn't plan that one out very well.
I have concerns. I'm going to mail you.
Yeah, please do. I never get them, so if you could please send me concerns. I'm like, please feedback so much. You can buy Barley and Me t-shirts at zenthreads.com. That's zen-threads.com. Thank you guys so much, Jack Alexander.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Duncan Alexander.
Thanks, Ben.
And
thank you
Jason
very
Williams
much, sir.
from Burning Barrel. Thank you so much for listening.
All right.
Get home safe.
Cheers.
Cheers.